Hey guys, James Pratt here. Really, really excited. We've got a very special interview with the director and producer of Bonded. We've got Mo and Matt with us here today. Guys, welcome.
Thank you very much. Thanks a lot.
We'll jump right in with Bonded. What can you share with us at the moment? What part of post-production are we up to?
We're almost done. The entire post process is finished. The only thing left is we're waiting on about 10 or 15 VFX shots that are complicated. And once those are done, they'll be color corrected. We anticipate by the middle of March, we have print subtitled credits that we can then screen. Matt wears many hats on this show. He's the editor, he's the producer, he's the post-production supervisor, and he's also my personal therapist. So I definitely direct you to him to ask him for the technicalities of where we are at in post.
Yeah, well, I mean, I couldn't have said it better. That's basically where we are, and we had, I'd say probably we are about 95% there, I think. So it's the last bits, and there are, with COVID and all of that, it's, these things take a little bit longer.
Yeah,
there are a combination of factors, but it takes a little bit longer to do it. But finally, I think the finish line is in sight.
yeah. Well, I think anyone that is watching, check out the trailer to just get a glimpse of this film. It looks fantastic. Of course, Mogul being involved as well in it. Just throwing you guys out some casting choices on the actual film. First one, Jason Patric. How is it working with him and casting him?
He's a real pain in the ass, but I do love him, and it came out in an interesting way. Basically, what happens here is when you're casting a film, it goes out on something called the breakdown, and all the agents get it. And his agent called us, and we were in the middle. What happens when you're casting an independent film is usually one of the producers who isn't thinking straight puts on every film Tom Cruise, Leonardo DiCaprio. It's like we're making Zombievers. Let's go for Tom Cruise, Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt. Unrealistic expectations, right? And I never paid attention to any of that stuff because they go out, they make offers and stuff. But when Jason Patric's name came, I was like, hey, I remember this guy. I was a big fan of Sleepers and Rush and Lost Boys. And so I was like, yeah, I'd be interested in talking to him. And his agents were like, hey, he's interested in taking a meeting with you, and at that time, I was like, great, and I was super excited. Like, I remember we went to Voltrasante in Brentwood to meet, and he came and he had like an upside down smile the whole time. And he basically told me my script sucked. And he was right. And he sort of he helped me rewrite the script. I mean, we must have done 20 revisions together. And it's interesting when I'm kind of joking around when he said the script sucked. He talked particularly about his character, and his journey in the movie, because he plays a police officer. But what sort of connected him to the material was the social aspect of the story, because he has a part, he has a very soft part in his heart where he has his own journey with his son, who he fought for fraternity rights for, and he actually lobbied the Supreme Court in California and had fraternity rights changed, in California as a result of what happened to him when he went through a divorce and all that kind of stuff. So I think that the part of the story where you have this little kid and seeing what he has to go through is what he connected to.
Yeah, and what about the some of the other casting choices? Did you guys have people in mind you made offers to, or was it basically that the casting director brought you just a bunch of people that you really had to kind of sift through?
Yeah, we sifted through. We had to sift through auditions mainly because of our budget, and because we weren't a studio-backed, distributor-backed movie. So it's not like you're going to get super famous people in the film. But I'm very proud of the fact that we got the right actors for the role. I mean, the most important, when I was making this film, I got advice from a very successful director, and he said, this movie is your camera and it's the kid. And I spent a year looking for the kid, and I feel like the kid was exactly how I imagined, whereas the lead kid in the film, I dreamed about him looking and being like that. So that was a positive experience.
And Matt, you can jump in on this one too. Like what's been some of the challenges making the film? Again, it's a heavy genre, like it's a heavy subject. But can you talk us through, obviously through COVID as well?
Well, I think one of the challenges that we had on the film was we needed to, it kind of goes back to a little bit of the art and commerce argument. It's what do you do? How much of the horror do you show, and how much will an audience take? And it's a very fine line. And one of the things that we went through in this process, which took a little while, is, I was always saying, probably, a less is more strategy is good, but you don't want to go too less, because I think you do need to show a certain amount of that to spur people to action, and you don't want to dilute that, because it ultimately dilutes the message. So that was one of the challenges, and we had a couple of friends and family screenings to just show various versions of the cut to see if we were kind of on the right track with that. That was one of the biggest challenges. One of the other challenges was, it's the movie's so well directed, and he makes the points that he's trying to make in this movie. He makes them really well. That sometimes it's really about, okay, when you're going through it, what's the best way to say it? Because sometimes we may make the point a couple of times more than is necessary. And it kind of goes back to that less is more argument. It's like, okay, what's the most effective way to do it? Do we need to maybe say it again later, or reinforce that point later? And it's a little bit of that, that discovery and that puzzle. And then one of the other challenges is always when you're editing is you're taking actors of various degrees of experience. And when you're
that's great advice. That is really good advice for anyone that's an actor kind of hearing from the other side.
When you're doing that, it's, how do you make that coalesce? What are their strengths and what are the weaknesses, and how do you, one of the phrases somebody told me before is like, how do you hide the monster? And basically what it is like, okay, how can you hide kind of their weaknesses and play up their strengths, and still keep it within the story so that it doesn't stick out.
Yeah, and I you keep going. Yeah, and I think the through line as well when you're doing the edit, I would assume would be, because it's a heavy subject, like you said, you want to keep it as real as possible. So the acting, has extra weight, because if no one believes the actor, they're not going to believe the premise or the actual subtext. So
yeah, and like Mo was saying, look, really it all came down to Jesus. If Jesus doesn't work, the movie doesn't work, and we're not here speaking with you now, because he's just that damn good.
Yeah,
and that believable, and conveys that emotion in a part that is literally all emotion, since he doesn't speak it.
I'd love to get Mo and Matt your just take on how Hollywood's changed for you guys, or how you see the industry changed over the last 2 to 3 years.
Well, it's one of the most obvious things, obviously, is the movie theater experience now, as I think has been broken to a degree, and streamers are the dominant form of carrying movies, but that doesn't mean that there isn't a market for it. It's just, I think the public is going to demand more, whether it's bigger popcorn movies, or possibly something like this with a message that if marketed properly can really grab an audience and get them to actually see this on a big screen and experience it on a big screen. Yeah. That's probably one of the biggest things that's happened in terms of at least the industry experience in the industry.
You take like a comedy movie, and I remember you'd see a comedy movie at the cinema, and it's really funny, but then it came out on DVD and you watch it on your own. It's like, it's funny, but when you've got, 200, 100 people laughing at the same time, the movie experience is 10 times better.
No, you know what it is? It's about connecting people. Like I remember watching American Pie in 1999.
Oh, great movie.
And
Great.
I've never laughed as much in my entire life. And it was because the energy of the whole place, it was,
Yes.
it was more powerful than being, like I said, like, I grew up in a very kind of religious family. And, I think religion is garbage, all of it. And you go to these religious institutions and I felt nothing in them. Whereas I'd go to the movies and I would feel something. I remember when, even though it wasn't the greatest film, I remember seeing a long time ago in a galaxy far, far and away when Phantom of Menace first came out, and people were sobbing in the movie theaters. It was like the greatest. I mean, there's no televangelist that can do better than that. I saw people sobbing in a way I've never saw. That experience changed me, and like that's the power that cinema has. So I just feel that people are so, I feel like we've become so affected by technology.
What's next for you guys now? If I could slingshot into your life at the moment, post-production now on the film, is there going to be another trailer cut? Where's that side of things up to?
Yeah, so once we're done, we will actually, because the last trailer was cut by us and it's pretty horrible.
I think it's great. I think it's great.
That's good. We're not trailer guys, but definitely the next iteration of the trailer will be much better because we'll hire a real company to cut the trailer, and so that'll be the next phase. And then the screenings we were talking about for people in the industry in Washington, I think that'll take us through the summer and through the fall.
How long was the shoot dates initially planned out for?
It was initially planned to be a 42-day shoot, and it ended up being a 71-day shoot.
What's been the best day of shooting, or was there a day that you guys were on set and you thought, hey, like I can see this coming together really well?
Yes, the day, I remember it very clearly, the day we shot The Woman in Black, picking the girl out from the whole group, that was the best day of shooting. And that's when I felt something on set that day. And I felt like, hey, you know what, there is some energy, some power in this that will connect with people. And ironically, you always know when you're on set, like definitely when we've edited it, it's been one of the best scenes.
Yeah.
Great. And just talking a little bit about for the filmmakers out there, what's some advice you'd give Mo and Matt? Maybe just one or two pieces of advice right now, making a film, directing a film, producing a film. What's some advice you'd give?
It's a marathon, not a sprint. So you better have the passion for it, because that's going to have to sustain you in those times where you want to absolutely kill yourself, and that will pull you through.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I would say this. I would say to anyone who's watching this, when I set out to be a director, what I thought then and what I think today is very different. And I feel like directing a film is like being in love, like being with a partner, because you're going to have so much difficulty. You don't want to get involved in a project unless you're going to die if you can't do it, because like you get into it with first time directors especially, and I was one, so I know you want to get into it with this idea of, oh my God, I just want to get a film made, and you're trying to sell the actor. I remember my first meetings with Jason Patrick, like, you're trying to sell him, do my movie, and you just want to get it made so you can go out there and say that I've made a film. And that's bad. Like that's a mistake, because what will happen is you will be challenged so much. It's like having a child, or being in a relationship, that you don't want to commit to something that you would die for, like truthfully. And if you do, you'll end up giving up on it. You know what I mean? Like most directors, let's be honest, I know a bunch. I've worked as a producer on movies where the director gives up. It's just like, all right, I don't care. The producer's only giving me 17 days. I can only do this. I can only do that. You know what I'm saying? So I would say to anyone who's planning on directing a movie, make sure the subject matter can get you up every morning and get you to do the right thing, irrespective of how you feel about about yourself and about anyone else. Because I had a lot of challenges on this movie, but my resolve was unwavering. Like I never, ever, the thought of giving up never even crossed my mind.
Guys, can you talk a little bit about the very exciting announcement, Bonded and Mogul and NFTs coming up?
Sure, yes. Mogul is actually auctioning off a couple of very special NFTs for the film Bonded, and you will be able to buy actual producer credits on our film. And Mogul will be announcing this at a date to be determined.
A real pleasure, guys. Anything you need for Mogul Trouble, let me know. And I'd love to do it anytime you want an interview, anything like that back in Mexico, that'd be awesome.